I work at McDonald's. If, upon hearing this statement, you immediately thought, Jonah, that this story is not for you. I love working at McDonald's. She gave me the opportunity to meet many people who became my friends. It has given me the opportunity to hire a large number of young people who I consider my children and give them the opportunity to start their work history on a positive note. I am proud to say that 3 assistant managers who trained under me became managers themselves. They all have families to support and have done a lot for their communities. I can't list all the success stories of my former employees. Isn't that enough? Personally, working at McDonald's allowed me to meet my wife. My ex-wife. She allowed me to support my wife through college without student loans, and she was allowed to stay at home and raise our 2 girls until they reached school age. It gave her the opportunity to improve her wardrobe so she could present the right image in her public relations career. It allowed us to have a nice house and cars, save for college, and plan for retirement. She was the reason for our divorce. This last statement may seem out of place compared to the other benefits listed, but you will soon understand. To understand this story, you need more information about how I run my McDonald's. Perhaps a better way is to give an example of how I counsel employees who feel the job is beneath them, the people they serve are beneath them, the job is underpaid, etc. I tell them they have potential. I tell them that they have great potential, but their current attitude towards work reduces their opportunities for the future. Getting fired from McDonald's doesn't improve your resume. Customers come to McDonald's for various reasons. The main 2 are good food at a good price. Maybe this is the only day of the week when mom doesn't have to cook or wash dishes. Maybe this is the only dinner dad can afford for his family. Maybe it's a reward for children for doing chores, homework, or simply respecting their parents. For some, going to McDonald's is very important. If people didn't want to come to McDonald's, everyone would have to look for work elsewhere. We should be happy to give people the opportunity to enjoy food. We provide a valuable service. People smile, laugh, and have a good time. Employees are expected to smile, have a good time, and get the job done. If you can't do this, you need to leave. Because if I see that this is not happening, you will be fired. Sometimes my consultations helped the employee change. Sometimes it was a waste of time. Over the years, I can happily say that my staff turnover rate is much lower than the national average. Some things in my life are working right, but not everything is working right. My ex-wife, Brenda, was a very loving wife and mother for many years. We communicated well, and I thought we were both satisfied with our sex lives. I couldn't imagine the possibility that we wouldn't grow old together. I was looking forward to the time when the girls would move away and my wife and I could spend more time together. I think my beliefs and desires clouded my understanding of what I should have foreseen. Brenda also became very good at her job. After several public relations positions at various companies, she began working for a local United Way organization that raises a lot of money for various humanitarian organizations that provide great service in our area. Brenda worked long and hard and significantly increased the amount of money raised by the United Way. Her years of success were rewarded by her appointment as chairman of the United Way of Greater Cincinnati, a position with high status and decent pay. When she was named chairman, her long hours and frequent absences from home increased. I didn't realize it at the time, but Brenda's appreciation of her own increased status had also increased. Although the children and I wanted her to be home more often, we were proud of her and encouraged her. It wasn't until the first fundraising dance that I realized all was not well. I get a good salary. By the way, my name is David Campbell. My height, almost 6 feet, and my face in the mirror doesn't break the glass. The incredible amount of walking that comes with working at a fast food restaurant keeps me in shape. My wife is attractive. Brenda's height 5 feet 10 inches, slender with small breasts and butt. She looks good without makeup, but with makeup she is simply stunning. In addition, she knows how to choose underwear and dresses that highlight all her positive aspects. At the dinner dance, Brenda introduced me to some major donors, with whom she worked, mainly general directors, financial directors, operational directors, and several deputy financial directors. Inevitably, I was asked what I did for a living. Brenda quickly cut in and said that I was the restaurant manager. To the subsequent question, which one? Brenda's face fell, and I proudly answered, I manage McDonald's on Madison. The person asking usually looked disappointed and said, oh. After several repetitions, Brenda stopped introducing me. That evening, my reception at home was lukewarm, and sex was left out of the conversation, and this taboo tendency intensified. Before the next dinner dance, Brenda assured me that I didn't have to go and said that she understood that these events probably weren't my thing. When I said I didn't mind, her mood changed. Well, try not to embarrass me this time. Somewhat shocked, I asked, what have I done that puts you in an awkward position? You broadcast everywhere that you work at McDonald's. Do you even understand who I introduced you to? Board chairman, directors, company presidents, lawyers, doctors. In other words, people who are better than me? No, David, not better than you, but to people with better, more important jobs. I have to deal with them as equals, and that's hard to do when I'm perceived as the wife of a McDonald's manager. Fury boiled in my head, but I controlled myself. It is what it is. You didn't seem to mind when he paid for your college education. Her rage was not contained. That was then, and this is now. Are you going to behave or not? No. Well then, sit at home and play with your collection of Happy Meal toys. She slammed the bathroom door behind her. I guess I should say that I don't have a collection of Happy Meal toys, but it's not a bad idea. Some of these toys cost a ton of money now. What I was actually doing was working in my book of cryptograms. It helps me take my mind off everything I don't want to think about, like my disrespectful wife. As you probably suspect, I was no longer invited to any United Way events. I noticed that Brenda began to come home from the office later and later, often with the smell of alcohol on her breath. Our home life also began to deteriorate. That's when the nagging began. Why can't you get a job as a manager in a real restaurant? Why don't you want to give our children the best in life? Why don't you understand how important this is to me? I answered, managing a McDonald's restaurant is a real job. I am truly providing our children with the best things in life, my love and guidance. I understand how important status has become to you, but I don't understand what happened to your values. Then she plunged a dagger into my heart. You don't love me anymore? It was so painful that I seriously considered leaving. What she actually said was, you have to agree with me and do what I ask, otherwise you don't love me. If she didn't know that I still love her, it wouldn't change anything. When I continued to refuse her offers, demands, she finally said, you don't understand. To which I replied, oh no, I understand, I just don't agree. This did a pretty good job of stopping the whining in our sex life, which had been pretty much non-existent for quite a long time anyway. Still, I didn't think our problem was causing a divorce. My days were filled with work and attending girls' sporting events at school. I was amazed at how many different girls' sports were offered at the high school level. When I was growing up, there were no such opportunities. Good for them. My wife's days and nights were filled with... In fact, I didn't know what. She stopped talking about her work the few times we saw her. The girls joined me in teasing her when she came home with comments like, you look like someone who used to live here. Brenda wasn't amused. Basically, she acted like she didn't care. One day she returned home late in the evening and did not try to tell what activities she had participated in. Based on what I saw of her discarded panties and what looked like bite marks around her breasts, I believed she had had sex with someone. When Brenda looked at me after staring at her hickeys, I got that, I dare you to tell me something, look. For the first time I got angry. I didn't say anything because I thought everything would be cleared up soon. I finally began to realize that our marriage was in jeopardy, if not already in a comatose state. In anticipation of what was to come, I contacted a divorce lawyer. He told me that the divorce would be a losing proposition. She will probably get the house, the kids, alimony, half of my assets, her own income, and a boyfriend to satisfy her sexual needs and extra income. I will be left with half of my assets, a very small salary after paying her alimony, child support, house and car expenses, and I will have to look for a new place to live with additional expenses. Oh yeah, and good luck finding a new sex life. He suggested waiting until our 12 and 14-year-olds left for college, or just leaving and being prepared to live frugally. Revenge sex with another woman was not an option. I couldn't think of a viable option other than to make Brenda stop what she was doing. My wife made the decision for me about what to do. That fateful day, I returned home from work and, to my surprise, Brenda was sitting on the couch with a handsome man several years younger than her, dressed in an expensive suit and tie. "David, the girls are at my parents' house. We need to talk. This is my friend, Richard Loomis. He is a lawyer and board member of the United Way." I said, "I guess he's the one you meet one-on-one with at night." "Sorry, are you dating each other?" "David, there is no reason to be rude. We didn't have an affair, but Richard and I have a special friendship." I intervened. "Oh, do all your special friends get your panties dirty and give you hickeys on your chest?" Richard intervened. "Brenda, you shouldn't tell him about our relationship. This could hurt you in court if he fights for a divorce." "Fine. David, there is nothing simpler than saying this. I gave you every chance to improve your life and the life of our family. You decided to ignore me. That's why I want a divorce. Here are the papers drawn up by Richard. You must sign them. It is advisable that you sign them right now, but no later than 3 days later. If you agree, Richard can represent both of us, and you won't have to pay for a lawyer." Richard suggested, "The conditions are simple. The 90-day period of legal separation began when you were served with the application this evening. The divorce petition provides for a 50-50 division of all joint assets, a 50-50 division of the share in the house. Brenda receives primary custody of the child with limited frequency of visits from you. No alimony but child support in the amount of primary guardianship with limited visitation. Why do you need it? For the last 3 years you have hardly seen them. Nonsense. I'm their mother. I'm where I need to be. When have you ever been to Cecilia's volleyball games? It's a stupid sport. They don't even give college scholarships for it." "No, they do. Well, it's not that important." "What about Misty's scout activities?" "They must have been on those evenings when I had obligations to the United Way. Misty doesn't even belong to the Scouts. This shows how little attention you pay to our daughters. It does not matter. The courts always give the mother primary custody. What if I don't sign the contract in 3 days?" Richard intervened. "Then I'll play hardball." The petition changes from irreconcilable differences to mental cruelty. The percentage of money becomes 60-40 in her favor. You will have to vacate the house and will receive a restraining order. You will have to immediately start paying her alimony and child support. No dates. Trust me, David. I'm good at my job. You shouldn't mess with me. Fuck you both. Oh, pardon my manners. Please commit adultery. You see, Richard, what I've had to put up with all these years. I tried to reason with him, but, oh, Mr. Big Shot, the McDonald's manager. Why should I care what people think about my wife or my daughters? I'll just stay dumb and happy. I should have left him years ago. I grabbed her hand and said, "You already did it, Brenda, you did it." She pulled her hand back and walked out of the house with her special friend. At the front door, Brenda turned to me to say, "You will see that I have already taken half of our common property. The girls and I will live in an apartment so that you have enough time to move. Later, I will decide whether to move back into this house or sell it and move into Richard's house. He invited us to live with him without having to pay rent." I sat in a chair and thought. Then he picked up the papers and said himself, "I can't blame anyone but myself for not seeing this coming. I'm finished no matter what. I might as well sign the papers and move on with my life." But my signing was interrupted. The girls ran into the house. "Hello, Father. We are in a hurry." They started going up. "Stop, little ones. We need to talk." "Dad, we already know everything. Mom told us this a few weeks ago. We're going with her and Richard. He has an amazing house with a pool and sends us to Belmont Academy. When we turn 16, he will buy us a car. I want a BMW Z4 convertible." They went up the stairs. It looks like the apartment won't be needed for very long, if at all. Having descended, they stopped to say, "Sorry, Dad, but you had to do what Mom asked. It wouldn't hurt for you to find a real job, would it? It's your own fault. Bye." The door closed before my bye reached their ears. My wife's statement was a dagger to my heart. The girls just turned the dagger and drove it even deeper. I thought about what I had left. Empty house, empty heart, empty head. Feeling depressed and feeling sorry for myself, I was ready to give up, admitting, she won. Might as well sign the damn papers and get it over with. But somewhere inside me, I don't know where exactly, there remains a small spark of self-respect that spoke, do not give up. So I waited. Even if I decided to sign the settlement later, I might wait until the last minute, just to give them pause. Then it happened. An event that changed the direction of my life. It was both the worst and the best thing that ever happened to me. It sounds like I plagiarized A Tale of Two Cities. It all started with a phone call from Albert Fredericks, another McDonald's manager in Covington and a former assistant manager under me. Hello, David. Have you seen the latest post on Brenda's Facebook page? The United Way Facebook page? No, I don't use Facebook. Then you should read it. If this is what I think it is, we need to do something. Call me after you read it. Brenda was addicted to Facebook. She couldn't resist telling the whole world about our divorce. That's what she wrote. Most of you know that I am the chairman of the United Way of Greater Cincinnati. I am proud of the increase in funding since I took over the organization. I want to thank all the executives, directors, business owners, law firms, healthcare providers, administrators, and others who have supported me. However, the problem for me was the support, or rather the lack thereof, that I received from my husband. I mean, being a manager at a fast food restaurant is fine for many people, but it shouldn't be a dead-end job for those who can achieve much more. I understand that many people working in lower positions do not have the opportunity to achieve more, and I understand that they must accept this. But I'm not going to continue to remain in the quicksand of complacency or whatever it was that caused my husband to settle for mediocrity. Despite my frequent urging, he has not taken the necessary steps to improve his career, to give his wife and daughters what they so desperately need. I'm afraid that his lack of support is preventing me from doing my best for the United Way. Therefore, I announce that I am in the process of filing for divorce. This is the only way I can truly help poor people who need the programs provided by United Way agencies. I promise that the divorce will not distract me from fulfilling my responsibilities. Remember that glimpse of self-respect I told you about? So it turned into a roaring fire under my ass. Brenda must have been drinking too much to write something like that, but I figured the alcohol had simply loosened her inhibitions, allowing her true feelings to come out. I called Albert back. He was also on edge and spoke quite loudly. What a bitch! After everything you and McDonald's have done for her and your family, thanks to the damn managers? What about all those who contribute a much larger percentage of their salary than managers? We have to do something. I'm calling a meeting of the other managers in the area. Can't you come to the Hyatt tomorrow night? It's time to plan our response. I didn't really understand what he meant, but I wasn't going to sit there and flex my fingers. I'll be there, brother. 7 executives from Cincinnati and Covington showed up for the meeting at the bar at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. 5 others were unable to attend the meeting, but agreed to help. Albert presided. Here's a copy of the Facebook post I told you all about, in case you didn't see it. Basically, this bitch said that people who work at McDonald's and other low-skill jobs are lowlifes who don't deserve recognition for what they do. Moreover, she is leaving one of the best men I have ever known. I know if it weren't for him, I probably would have slipped. I know some of you are indebted to him too. Several were said, truly. I don't know about you, but I think we need to do something for David McDonald's and all the common people who don't get the respect we and they deserve. It may be risky, but are you with me? After a minute of silence, one of the managers said, as the man from the movie Network said, I'm angry as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I don't care if it costs me my job. Let's burn the bitch. The approval was unanimous. Just before leaving the hotel, I was stopped by the receptionist, who handed me his business card. I'm on duty now, but call me. Believe me, you will want to talk to me. There was a full-page personal ad in the Sunday paper from 12 McDonald's managers. It talked about the Facebook page and the insult it caused to working people, McDonald's employees, and David Campbell. It said that I had collected many achievements in supporting my employees. My efforts to help the local community were also described. The ad went on to say that managers agreed that United Way did not respect them or people outside senior management in the greater Cincinnati area. Therefore, the McDonald's managers listed at the bottom of the announcement will no longer support the United Way or any other charity or fundraiser other than Ronald McDonald Houses. The ad encouraged people to donate directly to the organizations they want to help rather than through the United Way. Their McDonald's had to have information stations to provide documentation to back up what they posted in their aid. This took quite a long time. At first, company executives were sympathetic to Brenda's ranting and did not notice the insult inflicted on blue-collar workers. Most people didn't understand what the fuss was about or didn't care. But there was a small but significant group of people who felt disrespected and hated by those in supposedly important positions. They seemed to be looking for a way to express their displeasure. This announcement gave them the opportunity to do so. The rage grew and grew. Local newspapers were initially reluctant to print anything that would show the United Way in a negative light. However, they were receiving more letters to the editor about Brenda's Facebook post than about any other topic in recent history. Finally, articles began to appear that attempted to take a non-judgmental stance, but noted the growing protests. Our girls posted on their Facebook page that they pretty much moved straight from our house to Richard's house. Although their goal was to brag about how great their lives were becoming, most realized that Brenda and Richard were close before the divorce proceedings. Most did not require any additional evidence. This message was soon deleted. A friend of mine, who was also a board member of GCU, United Way of Greater Cincinnati, gave me the following information. Brenda was called to an emergency GCU board meeting. She looked nervous. Michael Broadbent, president of First Third Bank, presided. He was one of Brenda's biggest supporters, so she didn't seem too scared. Brenda, please tell us about the progress of the United Way campaign this year. Thank you, Michael. Well, we are not doing as well as we would like. Looks like there's a downturn in the economy. People who made one-time contributions to hurricane relief and... Nonsense, Brenda. You know your damn Facebook post caused this. Brenda looked shocked by Michael's words. The board member told me that he too was surprised because in the past, Michael had always been nothing but nice to her. Brenda replied, I know that some people misunderstood what I wanted to say, but I deleted this message. The inappropriate reaction should soon subside, and we will be back on target. Michael continued, What planet do you live on, Brenda? Not only are people refusing to fill out automatic withdrawal forms for next year, but they are calling and demanding that we stop their contributions for the current year. For the past 3 years, McDonald's restaurants have been the largest donor in the restaurant donor category. This year, their contributions are zero. Other restaurants have also reduced their contributions significantly. I have received calls from representatives of some unions who are considering rejecting the United Way offer as a choice for automatic wage withdrawal. If we don't nip this in the bud, we're headed for disaster. Michael, while I think you may be overreacting, I imagine there are a few people that David made to react because his feelings were hurt, but... Brenda, do you know what's in this box? He placed the bank box on the conference table. No. There are more than 1,000 letters in this box, each of which says that they will no longer make contributions, at least as long as you head the United Way. Each of them mentions your disparaging attitude towards blue-collar workers. Many people tell a personal story about how your husband helped someone in their family. Heck, this man seems to have done as much for the people in our community as half the agencies we support. She answered, I'll take care of it. I'll apologize and... Brenda, do you know what's in this box? Brenda seemed to be getting irritated. Of course I don't know, Michael. More letters, I assume. This box is empty. What will be in it in the next 30 minutes are your personal belongings. You are fired. Her reaction was quick. You can't fire me. I am the most successful chairman you've ever had. I will file a claim for wrongful termination. We thought you might threaten us, so to speak. That's why we brought in Homer Whitney, our board attorney. Homer, according to your employment contract, Roman numeral 3, capital B, number 3, subclause C, the second party, that is you, must project a positive public image for the first party, that is the United Way Council, in all communications, including social networks. Any public communication that creates a negative perception and/or results in a significant reduction in funds allocated to the company is grounds for punishment up to and including termination. I believe that we have every right to fire you. Homer couldn't resist and added, your boyfriend will probably tell you the same thing. Brenda left with an empty box and in tears. My eldest daughter reported to me what she had seen and then related the following scene at Richard's house where they now live. Brenda took her now full box to Richard's house and poured herself a full glass of whiskey. I knew Brenda hated duct tape, but I figured she hated it less than what had just happened. She took a long sip and immediately vomited. Richard arrived much later than usual, apparently also having drunk. Like Brenda, he had a box of personal items. Hello, bitch. I hope you're happy. Now we are both unemployed. And guess what? You and your offspring can get out of my house. Now. Richard, you can't say that. Did you get fired too? How could they? You are one of the best lawyers they have. The problem is that no matter how good a lawyer you are, you cannot make money without clients. Because of your dear husband's campaign, our company, my former company, lost business. This means more to the partners than how good a lawyer I am. They used the excuse that it was unethical, as if they cared about ethics, for me to try to represent my mistress and her husband in a divorce case. Can't you sue? Yes, I can sue a law firm. I think I can sue David, and once I do, I'll sue Jesus Christ too. I have about as much chance of winning a case against him as I do against the firm. Or David. Let's go to bed, Richard. Everything will look better in the morning. I'm going to my own bed in my own house. I don't know where you and your children will be, but it won't be in my house. If you're wondering, without my job, this probably won't be my home for much longer. Goodbye. By the way, you were quite clumsy in bed. Brenda and the girls went to her parents' house. The girls and her mother and father had many questions, but she asked them to postpone everything until the morning. After preparing breakfast for the girls and refreshing herself with several cups of coffee and aspirin, Brenda called me. David, how could you ruin my life like that? Sorry, how exactly would you prefer me to ruin your life? You're a smart ass. I give it credit. You won. I stopped the divorce proceedings. Congratulations. You are survived by a wife and 2 daughters. We'll be moving back this weekend. I guess you haven't replaced us yet. No one could replace you and your 2 backstabbing clones. And you won't all move back. You can't just say, oh, never mind that divorce thing. Everything will return to normal. You must understand that the divorce proceedings are still ongoing. Now my divorce proceedings are with you. Are you making this up? If you filed for divorce, why didn't I get it? Simply because she moved out of Richard's house. You must receive the documents today at your parents' house, and I'll even give you more than 3 days to sign them. Brenda switched to a softer tone. David, there is no need for a divorce now. Can't we work things out? We had many good years together. I just wanted you to reach your full potential. I believed in you more than you yourself. Richard attracted me because he was a person who always strived for more. You can't blame me for wanting this from my husband. Hello? I don't know how long she continued talking before she realized that I had already hung up. My daughters said she cried for a long time after that. Within a couple of days, our daughters were driving her crazy about having to go back to public school and demanding that she fix her relationship with Dad. They blamed her for tricking them into disrespecting their father and decided in retrospect that they should have stayed with me, and so on and so forth. Brenda called me again. David, can we talk without hanging up? Of course. I was going to call you anyway. I could almost hear a glimmer of hope forming in Brenda's heart. At least that was clear from her voice. Oh, thank you, David. Can we talk right now? No. You and your lawyer can meet me and my lawyer on Friday at 3 o'clock at the law office of Myers, Dethridge, and Lackey. then we'll talk. I learned that Brenda no longer had a lawyer after her separation from Richard and had to find one who would be willing to wait until she got back with me or until a financial settlement was reached. She barely had time to brief him before the meeting. Brenda walked into the conference room with her male lawyer and our 2 daughters, where my female lawyer and I were sitting and chatting. My lawyer and I were in a good mood. I saw my daughters, and when they looked into my eyes, they moved around the table, indicating that they wanted to hug me. My stern look stopped them. "Don't even think about it. You chose your mother, not me. Go sit with her." Misty spoke. "She made us leave with her and that perverted lawyer. Please, Dad, let us go home. We are very sorry. No matter how badly they treated me, I couldn't help but believe that there was still a reason for them to remain in my life, but I decided that now was not the time to talk about it. Let's get down to business," I said. Cecilia later told me that Brenda's lawyer, Milton, whispered to her mother, "Do you know who it is with your husband?" Brenda shook her head. "No, this is Sarah Burns. She is the fiercest divorce lawyer in the state. I've never seen her with a male client. This doesn't look very good." Sarah spoke first. "Milton, good to see you again. I hope things don't get out of control like last time." And she laughed. Milton replied, "I promise to behave well if you do the same." His grin was clearly forced. "Sarah, I've never seen you with a male client before. What happened?" Smirking, Sarah explained. "Well, I have always represented the interests of the offended party. It so happens that the man is usually to blame. In this case, the battered party is David. He turned out to be my former boss when I worked at McDonald's. It is to David that I owe the fact that he changed my life, and I took on his case, free of charge." After a pause, Milton began negotiations. "Mrs. Campbell wants to postpone the divorce proceedings until a series of consultations have been carried out. She still believes the marriage can be saved." Sarah answered for me, which was probably a good idea considering how angry I was. "Mr. Campbell doesn't believe there is any chance of reconciliation. Even if it were ordered by the court, he says he would rather go to jail than spend time on counseling. As a manager, he can be absent as much as he wants. He has a very capable staff that will work without him indefinitely." Brenda apparently warned Milton to expect such a response and to refuse the request for consultation. If so, then Mrs. Campbell will amend her original petition. Since she is no longer working, she is asking for 5 years of child support in addition to the house, 1, car, property divided equally, alimony, and primary custody. Mr. Campbell may have limited visitation. Nothing unusual. Sarah spoke. "Mrs. Campbell may have primary custody, but Mr. Campbell must have unlimited visitation, whether frequent or not. We also stipulate that the home will be sold if the custodial parent decides not to remain in the home. Otherwise, the house will be sold after the youngest girl turns 18, and the equity will be divided. Additionally, if Mrs. Campbell seeks alimony for more than 2 years, we will change our divorce petition to adultery." Brenda was furious. "You have no evidence of adultery. It's a bluff, Milton. We were legally separated when the girls and I moved in with Richard. People just assumed there was something between us. Let's go." Sarah turned to Milton. "Would you like to see our evidence of pre-separation adultery before you embarrass your client in front of the judge?" "This is not listening, Sarah. There is no need to provide evidence. But just out of curiosity, what do you think you have?" David made a call on his cell phone, and several people entered the room. Sarah spoke. "The man on your right is a receptionist at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. He can testify that in the months prior to filing for separation divorce, Richard and Brenda spent more than a couple of hours together at the Hyatt Regency, always in a room with one double bed. This happened several times. We have dates and copies of credit card receipts." Brenda jumped up. "This doesn't prove anything. We discussed the affairs of the United Way." Sarah continued. "The next person works in room service. He can testify about clothing, or rather, the lack thereof, when they were in a room together once. The last person is the maid, who can testify that she witnessed sex before quickly leaving. After a short silence, Sarah asked, "Now I can assume that you have no problems with the changes that we propose?" Brenda interrupted her. "No, I have a problem. David, I made a terrible mistake. I want to return home so that you can live there too. I want to become the wife I was before. I want to atone for the terrible attitude towards you. I will do everything that you want. Please remember our first years together. We can have it all again. Give me and the girls one more chance. We still love you, and I pray that you still love me. Us." David waited a minute before saying, "You want everything to go back to how it was before you decided I wasn't good enough for you? Brenda, there are some things you can't put back, like toothpaste in a tube. What you all did to me is another example. How can you undo betrayal? How can you undo the fact that you despise me? How can you undo what broke my heart?" After a short pause, I continued. "By the way, one of the reasons I'm willing to go through with this divorce is because I was selected for McDonald's new program for outstanding managers to become a franchise owner. It seems right for a person with a higher status than a simple manager to file a divorce against you. Bottom line, I don't want to be married to you anymore, Brenda, but I'll give you a fair deal. Girls, I will still be your father and will financially support you until you are 18. But you disowned me. It's time to answer for your actions. However, I will agree to spend time with you on a trial basis. Future visits and support in college will depend on how you treat me. Any disrespect will mean termination of visits." Cecilia spoke. "We promise, Dad. No more disrespect. Thank you for giving us another chance." Brenda whined. "Why don't I have a second chance?" With a piercing look, I spat. "I can forgive immature girls, but I cannot forgive the adult man whom I loved more than anything in the world and who should have loved me more than anything in the world. Marriage is based on love, trust, and respect. For the past few years, you haven't given me any of this. The deal in front of you is the best you can get. You have 1 minute to sign after the corrected documents arrive, or we will go to court and let the judge decide. Ask your lawyer if he thinks you will get a better deal or not." Milton sat down, obviously in despair. "Brenda, sign the damn papers." The corrected copy was completed and returned to the conference room. Brenda signed the papers and handed them to me. Before I signed, I looked up and said quietly to my crying, soon-to-be ex-wife, "Brenda, I would like to ask you something." "Of course, David. Ask anything. What do you want to know?" "Okay. Why, Brenda, why? I thought there was a time when you loved me and our life together." Brenda sobbed in response. "I don't know, David. It sounds stupid, but I don't know. Part of it was probably because I felt empowered by the fact that I was considered very important by so many influential people, and it just went to my head. I forgot about what was really important, you and the girls. I thought I was too important to be married to a McDonald's employee. I should have been proud to be the wife of a McDonald's manager. You should have been proud that I was your wife, no matter what your job was. If you can tell me how to fix it, I'll do it. Believe me, I learned my lesson. Please give me another chance. Please." After I had been silent for a while, Brenda asked, "David, is there anything else you want to know?" I shook his head negatively. He took a copy of the divorce papers from Brenda, signed them, and handed them to her. "Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one."